Monty did that recently too. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Unlisted? Yeah. Unlisted, I can at least get the link from. Man, I feel like every set that gets submitted is against Akari. He really be smoking y'all, huh? That's tough. That's real tough. It's like every set. It's so funny. What's up, Didi? How you doing? Good. Good start. But have I played Akari before? We've played one set and I won. It's a while ago though. Smoked. Okay. I think man, if you're that afraid of like round start, kind of an awkward situation. Cause like, right, here's the problem. Here's the problem with this round start. So you beat people that are like doing like lariat round starts and just like round start buttons, right? But you got to consider what happens afterwards. And so like what happens is that you counter, right? And you call assist and you're actually correct. You actually get him to block it. But the problem is what happens after the assist makes contact, because since you choose to back off instead of actually taking your pressure, what have you accomplished, right? What's the point of doing this round start, getting them to block the assist, and then not taking advantage of it? Because now you just don't have Jiren assist, right? And you're backing off when you chose a super committal round start in the first place. You decide to go in after the assist has already subsided in terms of block stun. So like if he was if he was more anti in this situation, he might like mash reflect and you get reflect 5M for for doing that. And so like why not just take the block string? Because you have the other assist, you have 2 assists, right? When you round start. So you can use Jiren assist to start the block stun and then start your string, and then you have 21 assist for your mix up afterwards, which is going to be much more consistent than waiting until the block stun is done and then going in afterwards. Because like if someone's like holding tag, if they're pressing reflect, if they're like reversaling or something like that, you're just going to get hit here for going in because you gave them the window of opportunity, because they're no longer in block stun. So I think you should consider that in your decision making moving forward. 5M'd. That's tough. I don't know why he doesn't. I don't know why Vegetos don't level 3 people just because they don't have the extra bar to vanish. I think you should still level 3 people. I don't really understand the logic behind that. Oh, he tried to whiff punish the shit out of you. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, a level, you say he doesn't get many options, but you get less options just going with a safe, you get less options going with a regular SKD than you do with a hard knockdown. And so like, you're just limiting your options even more by not level 3ing them. Okay, this is kind of ugly. So you get Jiren in, what happens? Reflect. Jump JH, this looks like a misinput. You meant to do like jump EXIs or something? Is what it kind of looks like. Panic vanish though. So just stop doing things, right? So the trap of Dragon Ball FighterZ is making you think that once things start happening that you have to keep doing things until something happens. So like this scramble happens, you now have no assist, right? You J2S, it doesn't hit, and that's fine. but you didn't have to J2H afterwards, right? The problem is that you get 2H for this anyway, which is like a super hard commitment. You could have just disengaged, but instead you try to commit again, right? And it misses, and then you panic vanish and get 2H anyway. So now you spent a bar to get 2H in a situation where you weren't gonna get punished. You J2S and make contact, and you could have just chill. You don't have to hard read at any like at every single point. Chaos will happen, but like that doesn't mean it has to keep happening. If you want to put a stop to it, you can. You just have to choose less committal options in that situation. If you just keep going, then it's just gonna be literally a shitstorm of we're both just gonna press some shit, and whatever happens happens. And in that case, you're pretty much just leaving the game to the fucking odds. You're not playing to your abilities at that point. Too many reflex, yeah. This if you're that scared, because like you had to reflect 3 times here, right? 1, 2, and then you whiff the 3rd and get hit, right? If you're that scared of the pressure, just spark to save Jiren. It's fine. Sparking to keep a team together and getting the sparking mix is like almost never the wrong option. What's up, Fred? How you doing, bro? That's what it's there for. They gave you sparking to use it. So, okay, we're gonna talk about jump counting here. So, you only get 2 jumps in Dragon Ball FighterZ, unless you block something in the air and then you get your jump resources refreshed, right? Okay, so what does that mean? That means the best lariat in the game, well, I guess that's the the wrong wording. The best way to lariat someone, right, is think about it in terms of this is like nerdy math shit. Think about it as like a triangle between you and your opponent, right? I'll draw some shit here to help out with this. So if your opponent has double jumped, right, and they are here and you are here, right, the best lariat at any time is the one that hits the intersection between their landing. So if he's going backwards like this and you're moving forward, right, you're looking to hit this point, right? You're trying to hit the intersection between your trajectories. So if you're moving laterally and they're falling in a certain direction, you're aiming for this spot to lariat. Why are you aiming for this spot to lariat? Well, because your window of opportunity is way larger. Because if they air block, then you're plus anyway, right? And if they ground block, you can call assist and continue your pressure. Also, it hits landing recovery. If most characters key blast when they do key blast in the air, right, they have landing recovery, and it might be a small amount, but it actually matters. So most key blasts in the game have like 3 to 4 frames of landing recovery, and that gets stored unless they do something that explicitly removes landing recovery. And so since you have a lariat that goes through projectiles, dashing and doing lariat in this situation is quite good, because even if you don't like get the counter hit on the key blast itself, you'll hit their landing recovery in this situation. And in Gogeta's case, he gets a full combo. And so like you want to focus on when to use that tool. The best spot to use any lariat in the game is aiming for the intersections between trajectories. And that goes for Bardock, that goes for Gogeta, that goes for 5M'ing people. But of course lariats have less leeway than Vegito, so it is what it is. Dark Prodigy, thank you for the thank you for the tier 1. Welcome back. Wait, are you weren't? Hold on. I don't think he is. For a second, I thought he was this old dude, the dude that used to come into chat. His name used to be Dark Presence. I don't think that's him. But thank you for the sub, bro. But yeah, so this would have been a really good spot to lariat, right? He has no assist to stop you either. And, oh, well, he has an assist to call, but it's also Key Blast property. And so EXing him here is like really good, really, really good, right? He's falling from double jump. His back is the corner. Your chances of making contact with lariat here are super high, super high. He has nothing to stop you here. 17 sucks in the air. Pretty much all he can do in the air is do the wall dive or Key Blast. And if he does the wall dive, he doesn't punish you. If he does the Key Blast, then he gets EX'd and loses 60%. Oh, window. Be careful here. Oh my god. The spark, bro. Oh my god, you're so greedy, bro. You're so greedy with this resource. It's crazy. Oh, I remember watching this set, actually. Your 21 Oki's fucking garbage, so you need to go to the lab and learn this shit. Like, what is that? Okay, yeah. You are failing to use the most important resource in the game, right? So many opportunities to use the sparking to keep a character alive, and you're saving it for your last character. Like limit break Gogeta with sparking is like that crazy. Like it's just spend the spark to keep a team together. What are you doing? Why would you want to put yourself behind? Like a lot of people think about it as, oh, if I go down to one character, I can come back with the sparking. But why not just spend the sparking to prevent yourself from being behind in the first place, right? You solve the problem before it becomes a problem. That is a lot of this game, is preventing preventing problematic situations from coming up. It's a lot of it is not about like, okay, this situation sucks, how do I deal with it? It's how do I prevent this really terrible situation from happening in the first place? And that has a much higher success rate, because then you don't have to play from behind anymore. But instead you're being really greedy with this resource. You lose a character, like trying to mash, like bro, just press the sparking. Like that was a great time to spark. The assist was already up. Your assist was up. You get staircase in the 50-50. Like it just, and now you have to play from behind, and you just die not using the sparking at all. Doesn't make any sense. You could have sparked the first character. You could have sparked 21 there as well. Doesn't make sense. You said that same sentence since you've been here. I mean, like my teachings are pretty consistent, bro. Like it's a reoccurring theme quite a lot. I think, I mean, can you could probably just special tag off the first one, right? You don't need to do the second. Yeah, I think if you do the second, you lose your knockdown, I want to say. I think that's why you lost your knockdown here, is because you did it again. I think special tag off the first one, and then you still get a knockdown. The knockdown is the most important part. Like 99% of the time, the knockdown is the most important part of any combo. And so, like, yeah, you lose a bit of damage from not doing the second lariat, but like you still get a better knockdown, which is gonna matter way more. Cam, get caught. I don't know if you're dead though. No, I don't think so. It's close, actually. Ah, he's alive, okay. Okay. Why? What you doing, bro? So a lot of the time when you do that DP, it's not gonna work. Just on the basis that this DP is really slow. So Hikari actually safe jumped you here. He just pressed an extra button, so he wasn't ready. But like this DP is like most of the time really bad here. And he fucked up, but like it's really easy to safe jump it because it has really slow startup. So that is at least something to keep in mind. Don't overcommit on the activation. So, right, your opponent sparks, but even though you block it, it's 0 on block, right? And so, like, you should be playing reactive here, because he's gonna have the advantage pretty much no matter what if he presses empty vanish, because you can't stop him from empty vanishing. He also has a very fast assist behind him, and so like you dashing in here is like a commitment. It doesn't seem like it's a commitment because you didn't press a button, but now you have no space to react, right? You're too close to your opponent to not overcommit, if that makes sense. You're too close, because now you're like, okay, I'm gonna JL him for doing key blast, but he can whiff cancel into empty vanish, and now you're just fucking screwed, right? You get straight up punished for not empty vanishing back. Same thing would have happened if he did like empty vanish plus assist or anything like that. So you just kind of want to wait to see what your opponent is doing in sparking and then answer afterwards. Especially while you're sparked yourself, because most empty vanishes you can empty vanish them back, and that will be a much better way to alleviate pressure than trying to press into it. Yeah, I know you're trying to wake up mash someone with Vegito assist, but getting IED'd on a lot. Oh. Many reflects this set too. The crazy part is, even when you got successful reflects, you reflected way too many times. I don't know if you think everyone is just doing anti-reflect strings where you have to reflect 5 times, but you're pressing reflect way too much. Why is that a thing? I mean, he just cancels out of his Rekka into grab. So like mostly, your resource management is not great. Sparking, you need to really, you really need to implement this mechanic into in a healthy way into your gameplay, because right now it's like, what are you doing? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, first thing. Second thing, your long range neutral is really underwhelming. Like really underwhelming. Essentially, if you don't hit someone with Lariat with Gogeta, you lose neutral like almost every time. And so what that tells me is that you're not acclimated with using the long range tools of your other characters enough. It feels like you're strictly mid range right now. When you're playing the long range against your opponent, you're losing neutral probably like 90 to 95% of the time. And so like with Jiren and with 21, they have pretty good long range, but the problem is that you can't just spam things, right? You can't just go into a game and say like, okay, I'm just gonna spam Jiren J2S until something happens, or I'm gonna spam 21 5S until something happens, right? Because obviously there's opponents' assist to consider, and there's system mechanics that let them get through key blast properties pretty easily. And so like you have to be mindful. It's more about quality than quantity. You can throw a bunch of shit at your opponent, but if none of it has purpose and none of it has meaning, then it's not going to do anything for you. If you're constantly making the conscious decision, thank you for the raid, Callie. If you're always thinking when you shoot, right? If you're thinking, what can my opponent do? Am I ready for it? Then you will get the hit more often than you would just spamming shit just to spam. You never want to be doing anything without a reason behind it. If I ask you, why did you choose this option, right? You should be able to tell me, I chose this option because of this, right? You shouldn't be like, I don't know, I just wasn't doing anything, so I just wanted to do something. That's how people get punished for just like nonsense, because they just go into games and they just do shit, and they're not considering the consequences. They're not considering, what can my opponent do to me, right? There's like a ton of different things that go hand in hand. So I think you have a problem with that. For sure, for sure. Don't feel like you have to commit every single round start, right? It's enticing because you have a counter and you have like a 5M and shit like that, but it isn't always the way. Um, the way that you're playing round start essentially is like very high risk. It's like high risk, all right reward. Like not high reward because like your knockdown game is not super great, which I'll get into in a second. If you were transitioning better from knockdowns into mix-ups on your opponent, then I would say like your round start is high risk, high reward. But since you're not really doing that all that well, it's like only an okay reward. Like you get a little bit of damage from counter and you get a knockdown, but you're spending an assist. You're spending an assist off rip, and like your Oki afterwards is also not super great. So it's like the trade-off is dangerous, considering that if you're wrong, you get 5M'd, and then you take 50% in a knockdown. And his the way that he's running his offense is just naturally more consistent than yours. And so like you should look to remedy that. You should focus on the sliding knockdown is the most common knockdown in the game. It's gonna happen like 50, 60, 70 times a match, right? And so what happens on that knockdown is really, really important. And so you should focus on that, especially if you're going to be choosing committal round starts like this. If you don't have a plan in mind for where you're going to go afterwards, then like you're just going to fall apart. And that definitely happened at some points in the game. Pay more attention to the defensive options that your opponent is choosing as well. So like when you were in the first game of the set, there was some whiff reflex from Hikari, and I don't even think it's because you were baiting. I think you were just doing a normal string, honestly, and he just happened to whiff reflect and you got to punish, and that's cool. But you do need to pay attention and actively bait out these defensive options from your opponent. Like it has to be a conscious decision, because unfortunately reflect is strong enough to where if you're just a little bit off, you're the one getting 5M'd instead of him, right? And so you have to always be mindful of that. And pay attention to, okay, what is he choosing on defense most of the time? Is he choosing reflect? Is he choosing jump? Is he guard canceling? Is he vanishing, right? What is he doing? And then adjust your offense based on what he's choosing. And that's kind of what he did to you. You were pressing reflect a lot, and you saw as the set went on, the reflect started getting punished way and more as the set went on. And that's because he was adjusting his offense based on the defensive options that you were choosing. And so you should look to do the same. And the reason that you feel like you choke games so much is because you're forcing yourself to play from behind in situations where you don't have to. If you could spark and maintain a 3 character to 2 advantage, why would you not do that? Why would you wait for 2 characters to die and then play a 1v2 and then try to come back? Prevent yourself from ever going behind. And you can't choke games. It's really hard to choke games if you're actively making decisions to maintain your lead. But that sparking usage is really sus. So definitely need to work on that. And your 21 Oki, if you're not gonna learn it, don't pick the character. It really, like, I can't stress that enough. If you're not gonna learn the Oki properly, don't pick it, because you're level 3ing people and they're just getting out for free every single time. And so like, I don't know, I know you pick like Broly and shit like that. Maybe that would be better for you, given that you don't seem to want to learn it. You don't want to learn it, pick something else. But if you do want to play it, then you need to practice. You have to practice. And you need to up your movement a little bit more too. Characters like Gogeta and Bardock and whatnot are threatening because they have really strong mid-range, right? Their long range isn't super scary, but their mid-range is really strong. But you're not always in the mid-range in the game. Sometimes you're in the long range, so you're gonna have to use your movement to avoid assists and move into that mid-range to where your tools are most effective, right? And so if your movement is bad, then you'll find yourself getting into those ranges less, and it's gonna feel like you're getting kept out a lot. And so you need to work on your movement in that case as well, if you're gonna play these characters that rely on their mid-range pressure. So that's what I got for you. Keep practicing. Holy shit. Reflect are not there. Are you listening to my stream while you play? Y'all are fucking weird. Oh, you just didn't mute my stream while you recorded it? That's bad funny. Oh, this is Nitro, right? That's what it looks like. Yeah. Okay. Start from the beginning here. Okay. You can't hear the cloud when you play? Wait, what? I feel like you have a setting wrong if you can't hear the cloud. Special tag. Oh, I think you just special tag there. It's like, you don't have to spend the bar, right? Yeah, you're ending in level 3 Oki anyway, so the little bit of health extra like doesn't matter at all. He shot X. He did. Okay. Short X show though, so that one's definitely harder to deal with, but you can. No assist here. So like this is like where a challenge is not super bad, because like right, the resource, right? You're trying to prevent this from becoming a problem because Kid Buu A is cooling down. So like going for a clean disengage here is like pretty good, because if you reset to neutral, he doesn't have UIA to rely on. He only has Kid Buu, and so like he has to win neutral again, right, in order to use the assist without having his own neutral assist. And you have two available, so like this would be a place that I would look to definitely try to escape. Now he can stagger specifically to try to hit jump start up or something, but that's way harder to do mid screen with no assist behind you. So wait, that's UIB? Yeah, he always plays UIB. It's way better for Kid Buu. So like you let him restagger like 3 times, I think. So like 5 LL. Okay, there's 1, there's 2, and then the ID is 3, and then 4 after the ID, he runs in and gets another pressure reset. So that's 4 pressure resets, and now you have to deal with Kid Buu A, right? So you see that, so you can obviously see the issue here. Yeah, this is tough because this is a losing battle. This is a losing battle anyway because he has barrier and you don't. So like if you want to do clash barrier, you lose, because he can barrier, and then if he sees you reflect, he can punish by whiff canceling into EX dive anyway. So that's just tough. I would say like your best option if you get put into this position and you have steal disadvantage, clash sparking. Get the fuck out of there, bro. just don't, bro, just don't. So like more on that, right? Another issue is that if he does clash level 3, right, because he has meter advantage on top, so he has steal advantage and he has meter advantage, like that's, you're like pretty much checkmated. Like it's so hard for you to win out on this situation unless he fucks up. So yeah, it's hard. The fuck. Well, it doesn't kill. So like what he doesn't level 3 there because it doesn't kill you, and then like it gives you a bunch of blue life, and then Isaac could just spark to get all the blue life back. It's probably why he doesn't do Clash level 3 there. At least that's my guess. Chem. Have to look out for UI. Yep. Chem. Call your assist here. If you're gonna so dash jump is good, but dash jump plus assist is broken. So if you're in, right, if you do this jump in and you call Gogeta, he just gets hit on his backdash. But since you didn't, he's able to get out in time. This also just isn't a straight up punish because JMs don't have landing recovery, so you could block here or double jump. So like feigning your movement here is really good as well. So like doing dash jump, and then once you reach like this point, right? So like let's say you didn't press this button, then like when you get around here, you could like double jump and change your air trajectory. And if he just autopilots and presses like 5M, then you can call assist on reaction and get a punish. You did dash forward. That's what I'm saying. So like, but mostly like just call your assist. Like call your assist here, because if there's a chance that like if you do dash jump JM and he gets hit by the JM and you call assist, you get a full combo as well, right? Flock with the 23 months, thank you, bro. You get a full combo if that happens. And so like if he backdashes late or you catch him jumping or something, you might even be able to combo off of him in that situation. So don't just do it solo, because approaches like this are very scary, like really, really scary to do as a solo character. Wow, nice quarter circle, Nitro. So okay, if this ever happens, so like you have time, right? You have time to realize that, okay, I did not jump forward, so obviously my combo is gonna drop. And so like just vanish convert it. Like you do vanish tag and like the combo is not going to be the prettiest, but it's going to end with a level 3 knockdown in the corner, and that's what matters. Because obviously like out of this pressure situation, the combo damage is not what matters here. The fact that you got the hit when you were in disadvantage is what matters. So just look to convert this into a knockdown in any way. Vanish would be the best way, because you vanish, you can follow up with super dash, you can follow up with tag, and then you know you have an air level 3 on Gogeta, so you don't even need to knock him down in order to get the hard knockdown, or to get the level 3 to link into your hard knockdown anyway. So spark would work the same. You don't really want to spark here because you've already done the hard part and you've won neutral. And like if you tag into Gogeta on the combo, you don't have to spark anyway because you're gonna recover blue life while you're in the back. You could spark if you want to, but the damage is not going to be super great. You're not going to kill him, right? You see how much health he has, so you're not going to kill him. If he was in kill range, I would say yes, sparking is fine, but since you're not going to kill him, just focus on the knockdown, right? Yeah, you have to, okay, yeah. You don't even have to do, like, I think you were unsure if you were going to get the assist in time to do JH. I think you would have. It might have been a little close. Might have been a tiny gap in there. I'm not really sure. But this works out. Though I don't think this was airtight because he got counter hit. So I don't know what he pressed here. Oh, he pressed 5L. He pressed 5L. So if he pressed 5L there, then that makes me worry that this was a little high up because she does have air invulnerabilities. So you want to be a little careful. To make sure that you're calling your assist as late as possible so you have the most advantage possible. Because like if you do it so early, right, your block stun essentially gets overridden. Right, like they hit within like a few frames of each other. Like you're still yeah, so like you're still recovering from the slash while the assist is hitting right here, right? And that's not what you want. that's not what you want. Because if he wants to like mash 2H or mash like anti-air command grab, then that gets really awkward. This was really good for him, I can't lie. This was, but man. So, okay. Don't forget, you have an extra option here. You have an extra option here. So you ID, right? And he sparks, but this does not hit within 4 frames of your tech option. So you could just press empty vanish here. You don't have to deal with that at all. Yeah, right? Like you tech, you press empty vanish and you're fine. You don't have to deal with getting jailed in this situation. And you actually double jumped into it as well, so. Oh, I think you held up. No, it's good mix, but like you didn't have to take it, right? This is against Nitro. You're dead tier 2. I don't know why he did this. Okay. He didn't have to do all of this at all. Yeah, I was like... that was so bad. Why did he do that? Okay. Second match was murder. Nice. You're getting caught holding up a lot. He's like stagger 2Ms and stagger 5Hs are catching you quite a bit. Yeah, overcommitment. Yeah. This will work against a lot of people, but like he chooses, like he's decisive whenever he reflects here, right? So he chooses reflect plus move, and so like you assume that he's gonna be in the same place, but he's gone, right? So you still have to, like when you run pressure, you still have to like pay attention. Like, what did my opponent do? Did he block it? Did he reflect it? Did that shit whiff altogether? Because that completely dictates like how you get to run your pressure afterwards anyway. Why does 5L look like that? A weird ass character. Yeah, dash under. Just okay. I think you almost look like you jumped back there instead of neutral jumping. Kind of weird. Damn. Oh, you got fucking mixed. Just spark. If you get baited, it's whatever, because like the blue life, right? So like look at the blue life that you have. So if you spark here and he hits you, you don't die. Because he doesn't have any assist either. So like even if he gets a good bait, you don't die. Misinput, maybe? Maybe you just didn't know how to end it from there. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is actually something I wanted to bring up. So like the slash dash stuff is good, but like it does have issues against like explicit delay wake up. So like it's not even like he had to mash 5L here, right? You actually just straight up get 2H'd and get nuked for this. And so like I think sometimes you should layer it with an assist just as a contingency plan. Because like it's really hard to react in time. Like I don't know how long you can even hold the blade. Like I think it has a max timer, doesn't it? And so like if you're already holding it near max time and he's still on the ground, you're gonna have to call an assist to keep yourself from getting mashed on. Yeah, it's just difficult. It's difficult. Ah, assist coming to the rescue. I don't think that, yeah, so this doesn't hit him. I think even with the vanish, he doesn't get forced to block it. Yeah, no block circle. So I don't know if that's supposed to push him back into it, but it didn't. Yeah, that's awkward. Maybe just level 3 him there next time. No, not there. You already, okay, so like you did, he doesn't get the thing anymore because he fucked up. He actually fucked this up. Because this is, what you call it? He just does a normal ass, JM. So this is not the mix up. That's tough. It might be glitched. I don't know. But you be acting weird. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so if I had two words to describe your gameplay, pretentious, presumptuous, right? So, and I think it's a combination of those two things that is giving you such a hard time. And so, what do I mean by presumptuous? The way that you're playing Dragon Ball Fighters is too contingent on assuming that your opponent is going to do X option. And so, like, when your opponent chooses something that is even slightly off of what you originally think they're going to do, then it leads to that feeling of uncertainty, either where you're getting straight up punished, or you feel like the game devolves into a scramble that you don't want to play. And that's because you're assuming that these things are going to happen when they don't necessarily have to. And so, like, when you're put into situations that involve like you running pressure, are you playing neutral, don't assume. Play the game in front of you. Look at your opponent, look at their resources, right? Weigh their options and play what's in front of you. If you assume that they're gonna choose this and you choose this to try to counter this, well, then you're playing against a ghost. You're shadow boxing. You're fighting something that isn't there because you assumed they're gonna do X, but he did Y. So what the fuck are you doing? You tried to set up for this situation, but he's nowhere near where you originally were. And so you see how this becomes a problem. And I think that's a really big part of why you have such a hard time sometimes, is because you're assuming that your opponent is going to act in a certain way when they're not obligated to act in that way that you thought at all. They're just not. They're just straight up. And sometimes people do the exact opposite of what you think they're going to do. It might be the opposite of what you think is sensible. It might go against every type of game logic that you have in your mind, but your game logic and other people's game logic are not the same, right? They're not the same. Just because you think a certain way in the game doesn't mean that the people that you play against have to think that same way, and many don't, right? And that's why sometimes when people play against certain players, like it kind of like shakes their worldview. Like it just doesn't, something doesn't line up. It doesn't compute, right? It doesn't it doesn't line up. Something in your mind is like, I don't understand why he's doing this. But we don't need to understand why they're doing it. What we need to do is answer what they're doing, right? If you sit there and you try to rationalize, why did he do this, why did he do this, why this doesn't make any sense, you've already lost. You've already lost, because you're not focusing on the task at hand. You're not focusing on, my opponent is choosing options, how do I respond to these options? That's where your thought should be, especially in tournament, at all times. It shouldn't be, you know, why is this guy an idiot, he's playing like that, right? It shouldn't be like that. Or why is this guy so good, like he's just smoking me, right? It shouldn't be like that. It should be, okay, he's choosing this option, how do I get around it? How do I deal with it? Answer that first, then ask them what was going through their mind afterwards. But we don't have time in tournament to try to rationalize these things, and we're losing sight of the game that's in front of us. And I think that's like your number one problem right now whenever you play this game. And I can sense it. I can see it when you play, that created uncertainty in your own mind is leading to hesitations. you're dropping easy things that you normally would not drop. There's a lot of things that go into hand here, right? There's nerves, there's, you know, this and that, new character, blah blah blah. I don't really give a fuck. I don't really give a fuck about that. What I do give a fuck about is, are you responding well, right? You don't change. You should not. Your goal when you play the game against someone in tournament is not to change their mind, right? It's to beat them. Beat the person in front of you. Don't change the player. Beat the player. How would you go about changing the way one thinks? No. You need to focus on the game, right? The problem is that you're thinking, this is my line of thinking, right? I want to do this and this, and unfortunately, while you're thinking about, I'm gonna do this and this, you've already you have a scenario thought out in your mind, right? You're like, I'm gonna do this and this is gonna happen as a result. But that's not the way it works, right? It's not, I'm gonna do this and this is gonna happen. It's, I'm gonna do this, what happens afterwards, right? You have to leave that window for yourself to be reactive. You can't assume that my opponent's gonna block this assist, or my opponent is gonna reflect this, or they're gonna mash, or they're gonna, right? If you assume, then you commit. And when you commit, you can't cover things, right? You can't play reactive when you commit. You commit to something, and then if you're wrong, you get punished, and it feels really bad, right? And so more of it needs to be, I'm setting up scenarios. There are a ton of things that my opponent can do, right? And I'm gonna put myself in a position where I can answer most options. Sometimes things are gonna slip through the cracks, and there'll be like a super specific option that they choose that maybe you weren't covering, or maybe you weren't in the right positioning to cover, but it'll still work for an overwhelming majority of situations. And that's most of the time where like focusing on your opponent's habits and whatnot comes into play too. So like if you put them in a situation and you notice that they have a habit of choosing this particular option, then of course you can structure around it. But you can't just assume. You can't assume. This is not a game where you can afford to assume, because like things just happen very quickly, right? And unfortunately, especially when you're running offense, you just can't cover everything. Like there's no way to literally cover everything. And so if you're ever in a situation where I need to assume this is going to happen, then there'll always be the possibility of them choosing that one option that smokes you, right? And that'll just fabricate itself over and over again. And more on that, right? There are some situations where you have to assume, right? There are some situations where you must assume. For example, like that's why guard cancel is good, right? That's why guard cancel and GC vanish are good, because your opponent is assuming that, okay, my opponent's gonna take this block string, right? And so guard cancel is on the table, guard cancel vanish is on the table. Because they're assuming, because obviously if they wanted to keep their options open to cover most things, everyone would just do button and then stop, right? But obviously you can't afford to do that, or else you're just not going to run good offense. So don't worry about that, right? If he chooses a very specific defensive option in a pressure scenario and he escapes as a result of it, that's fine. That's how the game works. That's unavoidable. It's gonna happen to everyone. But what isn't is in the neutral, right? In the neutral, when you call an assist from full screen, right, at a range that they actually have time to react, if you assume that they're gonna get hit or assume that they're gonna block, right, then you leave yourself wide open to reflect into option, right? You leave yourself open to reflect tag. Like, how many times have you seen people do assist from full screen and then they run up and try to start their block string, and then they get like reflect tagged on or reflect 2M'd by like a Gogeta or something, right? That only happens because they assume that it's because they didn't look at the situation and be like, okay, my opponent blocked, now it's time to start my string. They assumed that they were gonna block, but they didn't, and so they get smoked for it. And that's more along the lines of what I'm trying to tell you here. So you need to, like, it's two steps, right? One is the fleshing out of the game plan, which we always talk about, right? The game plan always has to be refined and constantly maintained. But the other part of it is when you're actually in game, when you're in the shit and you're approaching and whatnot, right? Don't forget about your contingency plans. Remember that dash jump that Nitro backdash on 5MD4 when you dash jump JM with Zamasu? That happens because you assume you got over top of him and it looked like he was in recovery, so you assumed that this JM was going to make contact, but he had time to backdash. And so if you had called your assist, then you have a contingency plan. You cover more things that way, if that makes sense. You're just keeping yourself in situations where if you're going to approach or you're going to commit, the outcome is less likely to be you straight up getting punished more than so like anytime you run offense or you like approach someone, right, the number one goal is to not get hit on that approach, right? Because that's the worst case scenario, is you trying to commit to something and you're the one that's getting hit for it. And so hits, you getting the hit is the offender can happen in a lot of ways. And we've seen that. We've seen people, you know, miss an approach, but the assist is there to back them up, and so they get the hit, and it's like, wow, that just happened to work out, right? That happens a lot in this game, like a ton. Especially like when you're running an assist that goes through projectiles as well. It's like there's really a lot of things that you have available to you, because he can't mash UIB to try to stop you from getting in, right? Because you've already called Gogeta, so he has to hold this. He has to hold this, and if he backdashes and he's able to block in time, then you get a string because it has good blocks then. If he doesn't, right? If he just gets hit because he tried to backdash, or maybe you hit his jump start up by accident, which also happens a lot, then you just get a combo, and it's like, wow, like that was really cool. And that only happens if you're thinking about how to keep yourself safe while you're doing these approaches. It's super important, and that's why dash jump approaches are so good in the first place, right? If you think about why they're so good, it's because they cover a lot of space, but you're also able to react to your opponent. You can dash jump halfway through, right, and see that something changes and be like, okay, well, I want to double jump and go back in the original direction because I don't want to commit, or I want to take more space from my opponent, so I'm going to double jump forward, or I'm going to call my assist to try to stop them from anti-airing me, or something like that, right? There's a ton of different things that you can do with this approach, but you actually have to like use your resources to cover yourself. If you don't, then you're just dash jumping as a solo character, and like it's not doing a whole lot for you. So I think that's really important. So that's like the overarching lesson that I have for you on this particular set. But I think this applies to all your sets. Worry less about understanding, right? It seems counterintuitive, but worry less about understanding your opponent. Focus more on responding, right? Respond first, then understand. Because if you don't deal with their layer one, then there's no room for you to understand them in the first place. This isn't. If you're just getting hit by all the shit that they do in their fundamental game plan, then like you'll never get to the point where you get to play against the player, right? You never get to get into their minds. You never get to play that back and forth. You just get hit and then you lose. And so yeah, you should focus on that moving forward. That's what I got for you, bud.